Welcome to Home Gardening and More. In this video, we will see about how to propagate plants, the step-by-step process along with PROTIPS, which most of the gardeners will never share with you. Watch the video till the end and you will know how to propagate plants just like a professional. Propagating plants at home from the mother plant is highly useful to make more genetically identical plants that resemble the parent, and it is free of cost. When it comes to the propagation of plants, there are various methods through which a plant can be propagated. Watch the video till the end as there are a lot of pro tips hidden in between. We will see about plant propagation from cuttings. How to propagate plants from cuttings is one of the biggest questions that pops up when we think of propagation techniques. Propagation from cuttings is the most common method of propagation, and this method is also easy for non-hardy plants as they root more quickly when compared to hardy plants. When we consider the propagation of plants from cuttings, there are two common methods: leaf cuttings and stem cuttings. Now we'll see how to make the right stem cutting. The first step is to choose the right stem that is to be used as a cutting from the mother plant. Once a stem that is to be used as a cutting is chosen, take a sharp gardening scissor and cut the stem at 45 degrees. The third step: the cutting must be made below the node, which is nothing but the area where the leaf meets the stem. This node is the main region from which the roots will appear. So remember to make the cutting always below the node. Here is the first pro tip for you. Once you cut the stem at 45 degrees below the node, the most important step that will not be shared by most gardeners is to make a slice through the middle of the node. Just place the cutting on a hard surface and make a slice through the middle of the node. Be careful not to cut the stem fully. This will stimulate the production of rooting hormone and the stem will begin to root quickly and easily. Pro tip number 2 is whenever you try to propagate a plant from its stem cuttings, remember to remove most of the leaves on the cutting and leave just 2 to 3 leaves. Be careful not to pluck away all the leaves as this will deprive the cutting of making food through photosynthesis. At the same time, many leaves in the cutting will take away most of the nutrients and hinder root formation. Next, we'll see about the list of plants that can be grown or propagated from stem cuttings. Plants such as African violet, Acalypha, Aglaonema, begonia, Christmas cactus, horseradish, hydrangea, lavender, oregano are some of the common plants that can be propagated through stem cuttings. There is also a list of vegetable plants that can be grown through stem cuttings, and they are tomatoes, cucumbers, zucchini, bitter melon, brinjals, pointed gourd, and peppers. Now we'll take a look at the list of the garden equipments or gardening tools that you will need for plant propagation. A gardening scissor or a razor blade. The second one is alcohol for sterilizing the gardening equipment and the pot. Third, cutting from the parent plant. Fourth one, soilless potting mix. Fifth, plastic bag. Sixth one, containers for planting. Seventh one, stick to make a hole for planting the cutting. Moving on to the most important part of the video, the steps to follow for a successful plant propagation through stem cutting. The first step, remember not to choose cuttings with lots of flowers and leaves. The presence of lots of flowers and leaves will hinder the ability of the cutting to form roots. Also, do not choose cuttings from plants with a lot of drooping leaves or dying leaves. The second step, prepare the pot with the soilless mix. Take a clean sterilized pot and fill it with the soilless mix. The reason we choose the soilless potting mix is that it drains well. Here's the pro tip 3. Avoid using garden soil for propagating cuttings as the pathogens in the garden soil might kill the cutting before it begins to root, and hence the cutting might rot. Next, the pro tip 4. When trying to root the cutting, mostly we tend to root it in water medium. But when we transplant the cuttings to the soil, most of it will not survive. So it's highly recommended to root the cuttings directly in a soilless mix and then repot it. The third step is use a sterilized pair of gardening scissors or razor blade to make the cutting from the parent plant. A cutting of 4 to 6 inches long is highly recommended. Fourth step, remember to slice at the node. As discussed earlier, make a thin slice in the mid of the node to enhance the rooting process from the spot. The fifth step, with the help of a stick, bore a hole that is half to 1 inch deep and plant the cutting in it. And the most important thing, pro tip 5 for you, when planting the cutting, place it at 45 degrees instead of planting it straight. This will enhance the rooting process. Sixth step, cover the pot with the cutting in a plastic bag. Once the cutting is planted in a soilless potting mix, cover the pot with a plastic bag so that the moisture will be retained for a longer period of time and the heat will also be held. These conditions will help in rooting. Hope this video was helpful to you. If you like the video, kindly subscribe and hit the bell icon for more such useful information.